The Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2 storyline is super interesting and brings in lots of new factions from the Fox Clan to the Peace Syndicate and many other factions which we're going to mention in today's video. But where do we start? And if you didn't really follow the storyline last season, what exactly happened in Chapter 4 Season 1? Well, to summarise the season really quickly, there were really two main stories going on. There was the Rift Warden and obviously the Ageless, a different form of Geno, who were crafting the giant rift that we know as the Rift Gate. And there was Amy, who was investigating the Rift Warden's plans, who then found the location of scientists.
I guess this is goodbye. Not forever, but for now. I don't know what's happening to the scientist, but I will find him. I will save him, and I'll bring him back here. And maybe when I do, he'll look at everything I've done, and he'll finally see me as his superior. Thank you for everything. You changed my life.
So there we have it. Obviously Amy was searching for the scientist and she went off to search for him. We're not too sure if she went through the rift or not. Now jumping back to Stellan, the Rift Warden, there are two other characters that relate to him, the Ageless and I believe the Shapeless Man, who we assume is the actual Geno, the real Geno, with the Ageless just being an earlier form of him. And obviously Stellan, the Rift Warden's aim was to serve the Shapeless Man's plans, but it didn't go to plan.
The gate will not stabilize. And I cannot shut it off. Someone has manipulated the coordinates. But why? Find our saboteur. Demand answers. We must know what is coming. The rift is growing. I sleep without dreams. The Shapeless Man thinks he has won. He always said he imagined a world of perfect order. There is no room in a world like that for the likes of us. Take these telescopes to the places marked on your map and examine this sky rifting. It is as I feared. The rift in the sky threatens to rip open. My life among the Earthbound has been lonely and full of secrets. You stood beside me on this battlefield. Together, perhaps we can win. The stars will decide in the end. But thank you for everything, my friend.
And that's where Chapter 4 Season 1 ends. The Saboteur, obviously sabotaging Stellan's plans, things go wrong, and we do get the cinematic, which you can see on screen right now, and that's where the Peace Syndicate arrive. The Peace Syndicate are the new faction of the season, a much higher faction this season on the priority list. In the past, they have made appearances, from Evie's appearance a while ago, but other than that, they've not really made too many appearances. But now we have them in the game as the main faction this season, and the storyline starts off with them. The Rift Gate has been destroyed, and the Oathbound and the Rift Warden are nowhere to be seen. I've searched everywhere for them, I can't find them. If any of you do know where they are, let me know. I really can't find them. It's a bit weird. Later in the video, we're going to have a look at the River Guard versus the Fox Clan, two new clans there battling this season, which we'll get some details on, and lots more as well. So let's take a little listen to the current story quests going on, because they really do reveal a lot before we jump back to the Fox Clan stuff.
Hey, hacker. Looking for a challenge? Well, you found it. I'm Evie. I work for the Peace Syndicate, and I think we can offer the adventure you're looking for. You see that big, beautiful city on your map? That's my hometown, and it's in serious trouble. If you're in a city-saving kind of mood, grab one of our bikes and take a self-guided tour. Brakes are on the left, or the right. Doesn't matter, you won't be needing them.
Boss, this is them.
You're the hero Evie's been telling me about. The pleasure is all yours. Name's Thunder. I'm a restaurateur, entrepreneur, party lizard, and well-loved man about town. Before we get into the heavy stuff, I need to be impressed. Get yourself a weapon and hit the targets I set up along the grind rails.
Recruits don't usually make it to a third conversation with us. Great work.
Yeah, things can get spicy when you're running with the Peace Syndicate. You've got what it takes to stay smooth.
Like your signature ultra hot 15 spice aioli?
Exactly.
The secret ingredients are fireflies and rage.
So just to summarise them quickly, if you were a little bit confused what was going on, we were actually put in the Syndicate and we've been recruited for the Syndicate. And Thunder is the boss of Evie. We don't know if he's the head of the Peace Syndicate, but we do know he's definitely higher than Evie in the ranks, and that's where we are currently at with that summary.
Someone is trying to start a war between the syndicates. They know that without unity, this city will fall apart. And in the chaos, they can take control. Their current MO is sabotage, messing with one syndicate and pinning the blame on another. I'm not a huge fan of sabotage. I'm a criminal artiste. I sign my work on the front where people can see it. The Peace Syndicate's data network is this saboteur's latest target. I need you to reestablish our connection.
So Evie then goes to explain the main way the Saboteur is using to damage people's stuff is by blaming the sabotage effect on other members of the Syndicate, which is going to cause conflict in the Syndicate, and that's not what she wants to save the island.
The network's back online, and someone's definitely stuck their sticky fingers all in our secure servers. If you can figure out what this data thief took and why, we'll be one step closer to catching the culprit. Take a look through our files. I'll be able to ID what's missing. If they took the first draft of my cookbook, let's just say they've made their final reservation.
Good news! The cookbook survived. Does every recipe start with long personal anecdotes about your family farm?
A farm-to-table restaurant without the farm? Baby, that's just table.
Oh, and all of our intel on the army of the last reality has been corrupted.
If our saboteur is working with them, there's more than an inter-syndicate war coming our way. Find me or Evie, and we'll go over the plan with you.
Then we go to Evie and she says the following: we have to win the trust of each syndicate one by one. We got to unite as a city and find the Saboteur before it's too late. Now it looks like whoever is sabotaging stuff, they have really gone into this with a lot of detail because they've actually managed to corrupt the Peace Syndicate's intel on the Last Reality's army. And then Thunder, the boss, goes and says this is super dangerous, it's an inter-syndicate war beyond it. Like, not just inside the syndicates only, beyond that, and this is pretty big. Now could our friend over here, Triarch Nox, who's actually located by the data that you go and access, be the person sabotaging all the data? He could be a spy for the Last Reality, or a different faction. Evie does tell us that we do need to search for the Saboteur, and we don't know 100% who it is yet, but if you take a little look at some of Nox's dialogue, it definitely hints towards him, but doesn't 100% confirm it. You can see here, this is his default dialogue. I'd advise staying away from that terminal, as if he's kind of sabotaged it. And then also, if you do meet him with two of the new Battle Pass skins, the first one says, if chaos is the game, we must play to win, which is interesting. And also, the next Battle Pass skin, which is the tier 1 one that you get straight off the bat, you may conquer the light, I will take the dark places in between. This gives me like Shapeless Man vibes, who we assume is the original Geno, but it also could be someone related to the Last Reality. The first thing to notice is when looking at Nox himself, he looks very similar to the Cube Queen. The way his chest is, the way he has them kind of like triangular marks on him, make it clear that he possibly could be related to the Last Reality, which is pretty scary to see they're on their way back. And remember, the Last Reality isn't just the Cube faction, it also is the Herald, it also is the Chimera, the aliens. There's lots of different factions that fall under the Last Reality, so we could explore something new here. For example, in the skin surveys that for some reason keep getting leaked, hashtag epic, please stop doing that because you keep spoiling stuff. Anyway, if I don't comment on this, some of the bigger YouTubers are going to do that anyway, so I thought I may as well. But you can see on the left and right, you can see they look very similar to the Last Reality style with the same sort of cube style vibe, so maybe these two could be big storyline characters with the enemy of the Last Reality in the world of Fortnite. Anyway, let's move out of the Last Reality topic and take a little look at the Fox Clan stuff, because we have a whole new faction to explore, the River Guard. So who is the River Guard? Mizuki, Reserved Empress Mizuki of the elusive River Guard, lives by the clan's ideals. Flows like water, cuts like ice. But can she keep her cool once her defiant brother, Stray, returns to the city? So Stray is part of the Fox Clan, he's a new skin in the Battle Pass, and we know that. And also, Mizuki has a relationship with Stray as brother and sister. So how do we know who this River Guard stuff is? Well, if you actually play as Stray and go and talk to Mizuki in game, Mizuki does say the following to Stray: "Can I forgive you for leaving the River Guard for our historic rivals?" As if Stray was once part of the River Guard and then joins the historic version of the River Guard, which is the Fox Clan, the original kind of formation of this. So it's like the River Guard's like an alternate version of the Fox Clan, which is super cool. And the Fox Clan have been around for a very long time. So a little recap on the Fox Clan for you guys as quickly as possible. The first appearance was Drift in Season 5 of Chapter 1, but then we didn't really hear anything major about the Fox Clan. We did get the Catalyst skin later on around Season X, but to be honest, nothing too major for the storyline. And it wasn't until of Chapter 2 of Season 5 where we got Vi. Now, Vi was introduced over on the Fortnite's Twitter when it got taken over by the Fox Clan, and she was messaging all of us, the loopers, for help, and it just wasn't happening. Vi herself was in big trouble. She was being chased by something old and something bad. We still don't know to this day what this is, but it was really important, and she was calling for help from Drift and Catalyst, and we assumed they possibly got eliminated, but we weren't too sure. But then the loading screen did come out to show that she was alive, being chased by something, with Vi and Drift and Catalyst, and the Fox Clan was reborn, possibly. And that was really it. We didn't really hear anything else about the Fox Clan until Chapter 4 Season 1. Last season, there was references to the Fox Clan. Something really interesting was happening. Everyday FN's footage here in the background, you can see actually displays two of the Rift encounters. The first one happened in the update, I believe, version 3, so 23.3. So the first Rift encounter would say the following: "Can't be here, need to go back." And it looks like they were at some sort of IO surface hub, which was interesting. And then the following update, version 23.40, only two of them would appear together. Again, no, not right now, they'd say. Not when they need us. And then they'd rift away. And then finally, in the final update of the season, version 23.5, a single member would appear on their own, crying. Sadly, the only footage I have of this is Gamershot's boss meet, where he actually managed to make one of the Fox Clan members, Drift, meet the actual Geno boss, which was pretty cool. We know that this was the final Fox Clan member, or one of the spawns, because the other two had just rift away, which means this definitely was one of the single members. But I'm unsure if Vi or Catalyst did spawn on their own. I don't know the answer to that. Let me know in the comments if you know the answer to that. And that leads us back into where we are currently at with the storyline now. Where are we at? Well, the Fox Clan themselves have some interesting details to mention, because we know that Stray is the brother of the actual Mizuki, part of the River Guard, and we can actually read Stray's bio, which says the following: "Stray, adrift but never lost. Restless, wandered Stray left his home to join the Fox Clan as a special ops expert. As tensions grow between the syndicates, is he ready to face his sister, the Regal Empress Mizuki?" Which is really interesting, because I wonder if the Fox Clan is part of the syndicates. Like, is the Fox Clan the syndicate? And I feel like it is. It's got some sort of affiliation with it, because they kind of say it there in the description. And as we know, when Mizuki actually speaks to Stray, we find out that the River Guard has some sort of historic rival relationship with Fox Clan, maybe an affiliation with it, maybe not, maybe just rivals in history, or maybe not rivals anymore, and maybe they joined the syndicate. So we got a lot of detail on that there. And that leads us to looking at the Battle Pass in a little bit more depth, to have a little look at other factions which could make an appearance with the huge storyline happening this season. So looking at the Battle Pass now, we get the idea: Renzo Destroyer. He's the first page. There isn't too much information on Renzo, but one of the most interesting things to look at is the Nemesis box. We know Renzo Destroyer himself is the Galaxy Premier Doom influencer. He's just some crazy influencer that loves Doom. But the Nemesis box is literally what I want to focus on here, because this box is pretty crazy. Look at the design of it. It's really interesting, and it looks very similar to these kind of like podium things that I found in the map change video that I'm working on. It's kind of interesting, right, guys? They look similar. Now, maybe this box will open up at some point. Maybe it'll just be nothing and it's just a battling, but we'll have to find out and wait and see. Now, if we jump back to the Battle Pass, some other stuff we can skip through. We can get through Renzo's stuff. We can get through here. I don't believe this skin has any importance on the storyline. It's more of just a sales skin to sell the Battle Pass. We continue going through. Obviously, we know Thunder is the boss of Evie in the syndicate stuff going on. He's a very peaceful guy. He loves running the city and his restaurant as well. We know that already. We talked about that earlier, and we keep going through. This is where it gets a little bit interesting now. We actually look at Mystica. Mystica is a plant-like substance skin, and we can get that from her bat blink here. We see the remnant blossom is the last living bloom from Mystica's home, which is really cool. And if you read her description over here, discovers a world's long lost. Mystica, discover world's long lost. So she's she's like, he looks like she's underwater, possibly could have some sort of relationship to Mystica with her new river stuff, and obviously with her water relations that we know is the river guard, maybe could have that as well. So yeah, Mystica's pretty cool, definitely something interesting. She's a plant-like substance, not exactly similar to what we know as a plant-like substance with Herald. We know that Herald's a plant-like substance. For those that don't know, the Pluxarian vibe with Herald, we've seen that with a few other skins as well. We've seen it with, I believe, Bloom had that as that sort of that Pluxarian vibe. We also saw it with Herald as well, but it looks like this is like a new style of vibe, this Luminary type of substance. And we do get a little bit more detail on the Luminary stuff this season. It could be like a future plant stuff that we will see in the future in Fortnite's storyline, because when you actually look at some of the talking dialogue again, it's such a weird way the Fortnite storyline's written with all this talking dialogue stuff. But anyway, when you look at it, when Stray actually talks, or you talk to Stray with Mystica, the following line is said by Stray: "FoxClan has no grudge against your luminaries, but we trust no one," which is a classic FoxClan line, but it does indicate that there is a possibility of the luminaries being more than just one, and many of this race that is a new faction that we get an insight to in the battle pass. Lots of new factions going on, which is quite exciting. Probably why there's no collab skins actually in the core battle pass. We have a lot of stuff just going through here, and here's like a more of an angry version as well, which is super exciting. I'm really excited for this here, and we must illuminate the past to find the future. Here's another version of Mystica, and I think she could be a big skin for the storyline as well in the future. Then obviously Stray, which we've been mentioning, the brother of Mystica, not Mystica, what's her name? Hold on. Mizuki. Sometimes I forget the names. The names, it's so new to me this season, it's taken a while for me to learn everything. Obviously, Adrift, but never lost. The Renegade version of Stray, the Drift version with the mask. We know the mask is really important. We don't know how Drift got his original mask, and it definitely puts a hunting target on you, as we mentioned before in the FoxClan storyline, from the unknown. Something big, but something old. We don't know what it is. And obviously, the River Empress Mizuki as well. It says here, the depth of the ocean, the rage of the storm. Definitely has some sort of connection to the ocean. I am your empress, those who oppose me will regret it. And it looks like she has some sort of crazy power with water, and maybe that's why we see her towards the sea in her POI. Super cool stuff, and obviously this is no victory without defeat. She's pretty awesome. You can see she is battling here in this loading screen. We can get a little preview of them battling each other. I don't think we will see this as the storyline. The battle between her brother and herself will just be like a backlog stuff going on with the quests. I don't think we'll see it as like the event or anything. It's just more of like a backfiller stuff. And that leads on to the final topic I want to mention for the storyline video today. It's been a super long one, but a super in-depth one, a super helpful one. So if you have found it useful, don't forget to use code POST in your item shop to support me further. It takes a few seconds to enter in. If you want to enter in code POST, feel free. That's it, POST. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. But the final topic I want to mention is the topic of the giant beast on top of the building, this dragon-like substance thing. I do think this will be important for the Fortnite event, which is going to be happening this season. There is a guaranteed event this season. If there's not an event this season, they've hit a huge missed opportunity, and a lot of players will be very, very annoyed. So it will be an event this season, and this is most likely going to be part of the event, and maybe we might see our boy the Lizard Man controlling it, the leader of the Syndicate, as we know so far, the boss of EB. We may see our geezer controlling it, and obviously Nox, our friend Nox, one of my favorite skins so far as well, could make an appearance as well. He's not in the battle pass, but Thunder versus Nox would be cool for the event. And obviously the appearance of the 7 is still there. We know that Amy's out there searching for the scientist, which I mentioned right at the start of the video, so we may get a reappearance of the scientist during the event, or the transition between season 2 and season 3. I know it's a long way off, and I've really kind of given you a huge in-depth overview of the storyline here, which might be too much. You might have to rewatch this video to take it all in. I recommend it. And also, if there is any updates to the storyline throughout the season, I will do shorter versions of them in the map change videos, most likely combine the map changes and storylines together. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.